Hello and welcome back to another movie mashups video, where I take some recent theatrical releases and review them. Today we'll be talking about these two films over here. For this video, since The Batman has been around for quite some time now, I'm going to be reviewing it in depth, so that means spoilers are inbound. So if you don't want to watch this, then just skip ahead to the Bad Guys review, because that review is going to be spoiler free. And now that I'm done, I'm going to be now talking about The Batman. Considering that DC often fluctuates in quality when it comes to movies, going into Batman I didn't necessarily know what to expect. I made sure to not watch the trailer and tell my friends not to spoil the film for me in order to go into this film as oblivious as possible. So when I finally did get around to watching it, I was generally shocked and surprised to find that it was a really great film. But there are some very minor flaws that hold the movie back a little for me from being the best film I've seen so far. Catwoman uses the "you and I are not so different" line, which really gets on my nerves, and also her romance with Batman was really out of place for the film. And the scene where Batman chases Penguin, the music for that scene for some reason reminds me of the Star Wars tune. That's just me, isn't it? Fortunately, these flaws do not truly hinder the experience of Batman. While other Batman films tend to focus more on villains than Batman himself, here Batman actually gets some genuine and interesting character development, going from a person completely fueled by vengeance to someone who truly wants to make Gotham a better place. And he's superbly performed by Wade. I know him from Twilight. And I've never really cared much for the Riddler as a character, but my goodness, the way he's portrayed in this movie is brilliant. His motivations and his character contrast completely with the Batman, especially that scene where he talks to Batman while he's in jail, saying that Batman was his inspiration, while also pointing out that the Batman got all the attention when his parents died simply because they were rich and were wealthy, whereas meanwhile Riddler was all alone and was starving, and nobody cared about him until he became the Riddler. Plus, he almost succeeded in his grand goal. Now, that's a terrifying villain right here. Even at almost 3 hours, the story is very cohesive and tense, and the action sequences are a spectacle to watch. And each major character had a real reason to be in the story, and the themes and messages that Batman gives to the audience is executed a lot better than other films that I've seen. What could have been one of the most generic films of this year takes a brave and a bold approach to become something worthwhile and memorable. 4.5 out of 5. That should do it. If I had to sum up The Bad Guys in an entire sentence, it would be that it's a lot better than some of DreamWorks' recent mishaps, but it's still far from perfect. It could have been a lot worse, but at the same time, I wish it was a lot better. I mean, I liked pretty much every single one of the main characters except for Mr. Piranha. He kinda sucked. But only 2 of them get meaningful character development. But even then, that doesn't really help the plot that much. It suffers from an extremely predictable twist villain, and the "you and I are not so different" line again. And I think this is a flaw you're already noticing, but having animal-like characters stand beside some human characters is just very odd. Like, yes, from a marketing perspective, anthropomorphic animals do generally catch the eye of a child more than a disgusting fleshy human, but it just makes world building kinda bizarre. But if we don't mention these flaws, then it's quite an entertaining film. The art style is very gorgeous and it fits the aesthetic of this film, and like I said before, I pretty much enjoyed most of the characters in this film. Sometimes the humor gave me a bit of a chuckle, and while the premise is kind of rough around the edges, at least it gives quite a good message, just not as well executed as other DreamWorks films. Compared to recent films, The Bad Guys feels like a huge step in the right direction, but ultimately it couldn't be anything higher than 3 stars, so 3.5. The characters were a lot more interesting, and it used a lot less gross-out humor compared to the Trolls and Boss Baby franchises. So, yeah, The Bad Guys, not a half-bad film. Unfortunately, this concludes this episode, but are there any other movies in cinemas that you would like me to check out? And if so, please let me know. I'm always open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.